This right here is a legendary cocktail. Let me show you how to make an Irish legend. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Matt, I'm the Whiskey Nerd, and like I said, today I'm making a legendary cocktail. I'm making an Irish legend. And I actually got the inspiration for this cocktail when I reviewed this whiskey right here. This is the legendary whiskey from the Cologne distillery. If you haven't seen the review of this whiskey, I'll put a link up there and I'll put a link down below which you can check out later on. But this cocktail doesn't call for that whiskey. I remember I was at a restaurant and I saw a cocktail on their menu called an Irish legend. I tried it, I really liked it, and I said, you know what? For the legendary whiskey, I'm going to make a legendary cocktail. So I looked up the recipe and surprise, surprise, it was not an original cocktail. It actually comes from this brand right here, from Tullamore DEW. They're an Irish whiskey brand. They've been around for a lot. They're actually very, very popular. It's a blended whiskey coming in at 40%, but interestingly enough, it's a blend of not just grain whiskey, but also malt and single pot still Irish whiskey. It has all the kind of main styles of Irish whiskey, and this gives it a nice, rich, rounded out profile. It only comes in at 40% alcohol by volume, but it is still nice and full flavored, so it does give a nice bit of flavor into cocktails. There are a lot of other ingredients that go into this cocktail though. It's kind of like a whiskey sour, but a little bit different, a little bit sweeter and a little bit softer. It does call for lemon juice, a little bit of lime juice, and a little bit of apple juice to kind of round it out so it won't be as like tart as a whiskey sour. It's kind of a whiskey sour variation, but it's going to be a little bit sweeter but still have those kind of like citrusy notes. It will have, of course, a little bit of an egg white to give it some foam. I've already pre-separated that out. It'll have a little bit of Di Serono, which is an Amaretto, an Italian kind of almond liqueur, so it's going to give, again, a bit of richness and a bit more flavor to the cocktail. And at the very end, it'll have a little bit of Crème de Cassis. Now, the original recipe calls for Crème de Mure, which is, again, just a blackberry liqueur, basically the exact same thing. If you want, you can use that. Me, I find Crème de Cassis works just fine. But that's enough talking about the cocktail. Let's get to making it. It is going to be a shake and drink, so we're going to get our shaker tin and we're going to pop a nice rock of ice into there before we measure out the rest of our ingredients. Starting off with our whiskey, with our Tullamore DEW Irish whiskey. We'll go in with 45ml or an ounce and a half of this Irish whiskey. Like I said, it's got a nice amount of flavor. It's got a really nice kind of just character and profile to it. My bottle's running kind of low, so I might need to replace that soon enough. But we're going to pop in 45ml, like I said, into there. Next up, our Amaretto. You can use whatever one you want. Di Serono is like the classic, kind of most popular Amaretto, I think, that's sold in the world. So I'm going to go in with this. I'm going to go in with 15ml or half an ounce of our Amaretto just into there. I want to be kind of careful with this because Amaretto does have a pretty strong kind of almond flavor, so it will give, like, it can overpower a cocktail. So just 15ml will give us plenty of flavor. Next up, we're going to go in with my egg white. Like I said, I pre-separated it out, so just one egg white into there. That's going to give us a nice kind of foamy head on our cocktail when we shake it up. Next up, our apple juice. Again, like I said, a lot of ingredients in this cocktail, but it does come together really, really well. Gonna go in with 40ml of our apple juice. We've got this cloudy apple juice, will give us a nice bit of flavor into the cocktail. You can use, of course, pressed apple juice, but I just prefer the kind of flavor of cloudy apple juice. Then we're going to go in with our citrus. We're going to go in with our lemon juice. It doesn't really matter if I mix up my lemon or my lime juice. I know this is lemon, but we're only going to go in with 10ml of both of them. So just going to go in with 10ml of our lemon and then 10ml again of our lime juice. That's going to give us all those kind of citrusy notes you'd expect in a whiskey sour, but it'll just be that tamed back a little bit. We won't add in our Crème de Cassis just yet. That'll go in at the end, but for now, let's just pop the shaker tin on top and shake it away for about 30 seconds to get it nice and cold. Okay, I think that is nicely chilled now. So we're going to bang the top off our cocktail shaker and get ready to strain it out into a rocks glass that's got some crushed ice in it, because that's going to give us a really nice presentation when we add that Crème de Cassis. So just first off, plain and simple, pour that nice, oh, you can see a nice foamy cocktail, just like that, into our glass. And then we're going to get ready to pour in our Crème de Cassis. You don't need a huge amount, because what we're going to do is we're going to pour it onto that crushed ice, onto that foam, and let it kind of sink through the glass down to the bottom. So just going to pour in about 10ml of this, maybe less, maybe just about 7.5ml of this nice Crème de Cassis, because again, we don't want to really overpower the cocktail. We just want to give it a nice bit of flavour and a nice little bit of a kind of a visual flair as you pour it in. As it just sinks through the cocktail, you can see it just there, kind of going to the bottom of the glass, giving you this nice kind of fruity flavour that as you drink will mix into the cocktail. For a garnish, I'm just going to go in with plain and simple dehydrated slice of lime into there. And that right there is how I make an Irish legend. Now real quick, before I taste this cocktail, if you're new here, scroll down, hit that thumbs up button, hit that subscribe button. I put out whiskey reviews like the review of that Cologne whiskey every Wednesday, and I put out cocktail recipes like this every Friday. So if you want to see more cocktail recipes like this, make sure you hit subscribe and let me know if there are any cocktail recipes you want to see me try out down there in the comments below. But right now, I'm going to taste this cocktail. Cheers. That's nice. It's actually quite a foamy cocktail because you get this layer of crushed ice and that's giving you this nice big foam, but then behind it you get, of course, a whiskey sour. It's kind of like it reminds me like of a Jeffrey Morgenthaler's Amaretto sour, where it's a bit of bourbon, a bit of Amaretto and a classic whiskey sour, but it's not as tart because you're only using a little bit of that lemon and lime juice, but you're using the apple juice. That gives you this kind of like roundness, a bit of softness. It has that whiskey sour vibe, but without being like a really overpowering whiskey sour. The little bit of the Crème de Cassis, I am getting it a little bit, and the more you drink of it, you can already see it's kind of spreading out through the cocktail. So the more you drink, the more of that kind of like blackcurrant liqueur you're going to get. You're going to get more of that kind of sweetness coming into the cocktail. But up front, it's definitely like that whiskey sour, but a little bit softer. So if you aren't a big fan of those whiskey sours, you will get a little bit more of appreciation here for this softer cocktail. The crushed ice just adds a nice little bit of texture to the cocktail. It doesn't add a huge amount of weight to it. It's only a little bit in there, but like a whiskey sour can sometimes warm up very quickly, especially on a warm day. So this will help it keep it a little bit cool. You could probably serve it on like a big rock of ice or just some cubes of ice. You don't need to go for the crushed ice, but I think it just adds a nice little bit of texture to the cocktail. But I think it's a very, very nice little cocktail. Very easy to make despite having a lot of ingredients. It's all very simple. Just very nice variation on the whiskey sour. So I'm definitely going to keep on enjoying it. And I'll see you next time. Sláinte.